Welcome back, everybody. Today, we are talking about something I think is actually pretty interesting, and that's the historic fall off of Mega Metagross in VGC. Now, if you're unaware, Mega Metagross is actually a Pokemon that is historically quite good in VGC. VGC 2019 was the last time it was legal, and it was pretty solid in that format, although I would argue its best format was VGC 2018. And right now, currently, Mega Metagross is considered to be fairly mid-tier, if not bordering on just like a little less than like solid, right? Like it is considered a solid Pokemon, but when you consider it being like an A to sometimes S tier Pokemon in previous formats, this is actually a historic fall off in terms of viability. For reference, Mega Metagross had 379 players representing it, or at least Metagross as a whole, right? There were some non-Mega Metagross in here, but for the most part, if you're running Metagross, it's gonna be Mega in this format since the Assault Vest doesn't exist. But there were 379 people playing it in the Grand Champions Festival Encore out of how many people were playing in this total? A lot. I think over 1,000, over like 6,000 even. Hold on. 379 out of okay, we're gonna estimate around 6,000. I don't really care. It doesn't really matter. 4,000. Okay, out of like 4,000 people, a 379 like count is pretty low for Metagross historically speaking. Even less so when you look at its day 2 representation. If we actually take a look at it in day 1, right? And we look at Metagross, it has 379 players, right? If we look at day 2 Metagross, the conversion rate is actually pretty atrocious. 40. That is a, what is that? Slightly more than 10% conversion rate, which granted with other Pokemon, like obviously it's like, you know, I wouldn't argue that's like the worst conversion rate. You know, I did say atrocious, but what really matters is the top cut conversion. So in terms of top 32 rather, or yeah, top 16, I guess, for this tournament, there were no Metagross. No Metagross in top cut is actually kind of insane. Again, historically speaking, for this format, it's kind of par for the course that Metagross is underperforming a little bit. But what I want to get down to is why it's underperforming in this format. If we look at it, the highest placing Metagross in this event, I believe, was 31. So Metagross, there it is. Highest placing Metagross was 31, and this was on a Charizard hybrid team. So again, dual Mega with a Metagross on there. You can kind of see why it would work. You have like a Tailwind Aerodactyl, Bullet Punch, Psychic Fangs, Body Press. You have Charizard next to it for matchups where Metagross can't show up. And like the other high placing Metagross were usually on Rain. This is a Rain Metagross that got 48th. This is a Tailwind Charizard Metagross that got 55th. We have another Rain Metagross at 56th at 82. We have a, not Rain, but like a Tailwind Charizard. As you can see, it's either basically Rain or Tailwind Charizard dual pairing, right? And that's for good reason. Metagross, for lack of a better term, if you have a Pokemon that struggles in the format, you can just kind of put a Charizard next to it and fix like the bad matchups. If it synergizes that way. Obviously you don't want to do like a, you know, Mega Houndoom, Mega Charizard team. You're not going to get far with that. But if like they pair well with each other, it works out. Rain, though, is one of Metagross's better archetypes that it functions well on. And that's because it's kind of intuitive. You know, it doesn't like dealing with opposing Charizard. It likes having Rain up because it doesn't take as much damage from fire type moves, and that allows for Metagross to actually deal pretty significant damage even into the Charizard if you end up in that position. If we take a look, Metagross, Jolly Offensive Mega into a non-bulky Charizard. That's another thing, by the way. Charizard is getting bulkier and bulkier. That's a reason that Metagross is kind of struggling. But fast offensive, you can see Psychic Fangs is a clean 2-hit KO. If they're chipped down, Psychic Fangs just straight up one-shots non-bulky Charizard. But if they are a bulky Charizard, and dare I say, the bulkiest of Charizards, if we look at this, Mega Charizard is running like max HP on a lot of sets, and it's even running like a lot of defense. I've seen up to like 25 or 30. You can see that Psychic Fangs gets harder and harder to like, you know, get in range of KOing. But yeah, so that's just one thing, right? it doesn't like that Charizard is everywhere. And there's only like 2 teams where it succeeds on. Even in the Champions Arena too, if we take a look at the results, there weren't a ton of Metagross. As we can see in Top Cut, there was exactly 1 Metagross. And it was Ren Kawakubo, who was running the Metagross Toxapex team, which has been doing fairly well in the metagame. Toxapex and Metagross do pair super good together. That's one of the more interesting developments of this meta, which is strange because they're both weak to ground, but it doesn't really matter for the team that it's on. It's mostly just that Charizard doesn't like dealing with Toxapex. So yeah. But outside of the Top Cut, we can see that Metagross was pretty poorly represented. We see 1 Metagross at 29th and another at 33rd, another at 41st, another at 53rd, and I believe it falls off pretty hard there, 73rd or 72nd, 78th. As you can see, like it is able to like convert pretty okay into like higher placements, but it's not able to get the job done. Like I don't think we've seen a Metagross win a tournament yet in this format. And that's because this metagame is actually extremely hostile to Metagross. I think Metagross is one of those Pokemon that kind of got shadow nerfed. I think that they saw how great it was, the Pokemon Company saw how great it was in VGC 2018 and 2019, and all this time have been kind of secretly nerfing it, and you'll see what I mean. So let's take a look at some recent top tier Pokemon. Let's take a look at Gen 8 and Gen 9, the generations that came after Metagross's last dominant season. What was introduced in these formats? Well, in Generation 8, we got Grimmsnarl for 1. We got Incineroar with Parting Shot. Parting Shot was new to Incineroar in Generation 8, which obviously while Metagross is able to be immune to Intimidate before it Mega Evolves, after it Mega Evolves, it cares about Intimidating Parting Shot. Grimmsnarl massively reduces Metagross's effectiveness by setting up screens and being a Pokemon that can't be Psychic Fanged, so you can actually play it pretty well. It doesn't like, it doesn't like taking the heavy slam, so I guess I'll take it off the list. Urshifu. Urshifu's not in the game right now, but I thought it should be noted that Urshifu Dark exists. Gen 9 is, I think, where the big offenders come, though. Basculegion, technically Gen 8. Basculegion is one of the best Pokemon in the game, and it is able to do pretty massive damage to a Metagross. Basculegion, if we take a look at, not even like Life Orb, just like an adaptability adamant set with like Sash. A Last Respects with 1 downed partner is enough to one-shot a non-bulky Mega Metagross, which is kind of nuts that you're getting KO'd by a 100 base power Ghost-type move when you have literally 150 defense and 80 HP, right? Kind of nuts. King Gambit, extremely difficult for Metagross, especially since King Gambit runs Black Glasses. That Sucker Punch is doing pretty significant damage. 73 to 87, Kowtow Cleave being a roll to KO. Does Metagross have access to Body Press? Yes. However, it's a roll to KO, even with Tough Claws, which is kind of nuts because Metagross doesn't run a ton of defense. It has to run a lot of defense to guarantee the one-hit KO, which it doesn't usually do because it needs the speed. So that is difficult for it. You end up in range of Sucker Punch pretty easily with this Pokemon. Other Pokemon that were added post Gen 9, gotta admit it, Delphox. Delphox has been extremely problematic for Mega Metagross. Yes, are there more Charizards running around? Yeah, but we already talked about Charizard, and I'm talking about Pokemon added Gen 9 afterwards. Yeah, Mega Delphox is able to do really significant damage with Heat Wave while resisting both of Mega Metagross's stab moves in Psychic and Iron Head, and resisting Body Press and Ice Punch. Even its coverage moves aren't doing great. It's only the Rock Slide Metagross that can really touch Mega Delphox. And what else was added after the fact that is probably difficult for Mega Metagross? I think that's it for like the new Pokemon. Now, we need to talk about like the Champions metagame. Let's look at the Champions metagame specifically. Let's look at these top tiers. The top tiers in the Champions metagame are atrocious for Mega Metagross's viability. Incineroar and Garchomp are both able to take on Mega Metagross pretty effectively, as Incineroar, while it isn't like the most offensive Pokemon in generation, whatever we're going to call this, in Champions, there are more Incineroar running offensive sets. There's a lot more adamant Incineroar running like 20 attack, and that Flare Blitz is going to KO a lot of non-bulky Mega Metagross. And if they're running 32 attack, which the Trick Room variants are running, you have a pretty good chance to KO it. You also have Intimidate, you also have Fake Out. That's pretty awful for it. Other Pokemon in the metagame, Garchomp. Yes, Garchomp does get one shot by Ice Punch, but if we take a look at the Metagross that have been succeeding, they're not running Ice Punch right now. And that's because other Pokemon can take care of the Garchomp if need be, but Garchomp usually feels pretty safe in front of Mega Metagross. It's able to run Life Orb and a Jolly Nature, and you can see that its Earthquake is doing 76 to 91%. Stomping Tantrum is obviously doing the same amount of damage because of the 75% cut to spread moves. But if it gets, flinched, or if it has its move somehow like fail in the previous turn, Stomping Tantrum is just going to be able to one-shot. Charizard, of course, is like the face of the metagame, and that is a massive nuisance for Mega Metagross's viability. But even looking at like the Pokemon that aren't just general one-hit KOs. Oh, also I need to point out Golden Go. Golden Go, another Pokemon that Mega Metagross just hates dealing with because it just can't touch it with its current moveset. It has to run Stomping Tantrum to hit Golden Go, and at this moment, it's more effective just to run Body Press to try to one-shot whatever Kingambit you run into. So Golden Go is just a non-starter for this thing. Golden Go, Life Orb, Modest Nature. You can see Shadow Ball is a clean 1-hit KO, while Mega Metagross has no way of really hitting a Golden Go. Yeah. Basically, what I'm trying to get at is that a lot of the top tiers and champions just stuff this thing. Like Sinistcha doesn't run, it doesn't run ghost type moves most of the time, but if it does, it's going to hit for pretty significant damage. What really kind of sucks for Mega Metagross is the fact that it has trouble KOing Sinistcha. As you can see, Iron Head and Psychic Fangs are doing like 50% on the high end of things. Citrus Berry means that it's going to be a guaranteed 3-hit KO for a lot of these attacks. 0.39%, whatever. Here, check it out. There you go. Okay. And Matcha Gotcha, that's like the biggest issue. Sinistcha is just able to spam Matcha Gotcha all at once in front of a Mega Metagross, especially when it's paired with Incineroar to intimidate it. It just gets burned so easily. Another Pokemon that really kind of stuffs Mega Metagross that I don't think a lot of people take into consideration. We'll take a look at this. We'll take a look at a duo of Megas, actually. This channel is partnered with GamerSupps. If you want to support my work and get great tasting drinks, you can order GamerSupps through my link in the description down below, or with code Moxie boosted at checkout for 10% off. GamerSupps is a caffeinated product that I recommend only to my 18+ viewers, but my link will send you to their caffeine-free product section just in case. Every product purchased through my link supports my channel financially, so I'd really appreciate the support. Now back to the video. Scovillain, who is often paired currently with Mega Frostlass. So both of these Pokemon, not Mega Horn. It is a Mega with horns. Both of these Pokemon are just horrible for Mega Metagross. Scovillain, of course, being a hard stop to this Pokemon, as it has Rage Powder and the ability Spicy Spray, making it so if you attack this thing, you get burned immediately. A burned Mega Metagross is not a Mega Metagross you want to be using, obviously, but it also has the option to just one-shot it with Overheat. That is terrifying for Metagross and its partners. Frostlass especially is not great for Metagross because Metagross doesn't really run Bullet Punch all that much. You see it sometimes, like this one, but it doesn't run Bullet Punch a ton, right? And when you see a Frostlass, they've been getting bulkier and bulkier because they don't need to be super fast to outpace Pokemon like Garchomp and Charizard in the metagame. And the offensive ones are running Modest more and more. Shadow Ball is just it's a roll to one-shot the non-bulky Metagross. That's horrible for it. And your Iron Head, yeah, it's going to one-shot even through snow. But if a Veil's up, which a lot of these things run Veil, that's terrifying for it. Also, this team that is running around the one I'm talking about specifically, the Mega Frostlass, Mega Scovillain, that whole team is just a no to Mega Metagross. Let's take a look at this. Here it is. Look at this team. This team has been performing pretty consistently over the past two metagames, Reg MA and MB, and the whole team, barring two Pokemon, just completely stuff Metagross. Let's take a look at other common teams, because I'll be honest, guys, it isn't just individual Pokemon that kind of stuff this thing. It's like the entire team structure. Metagross, rather than just being a Pokemon that carries its team and is able to deal massive damage and is able to like one-shot Pokemon with its stab moves, it's struggling right now because like it can't do that anymore. It's not a Pokemon that gets value intrinsically by running it. It's a Pokemon that has certain matchups where it can do things like that. Like it likes facing off against Toxapex. It kind of likes facing off against Annihilate, and it loves facing off against screens. But broadly speaking, it's just so much weaker. It's like probably the weakest iteration of this Pokemon we've ever had. But yeah, we'll take a look at the team that literally won the last tournament. We have Lexicon's Dual Weather Charizard team. You can see that like not only is Charizard Basculegion like an issue for this sort of thing, but like even Venusaur, a Sash Venusaur, I feel like that's a clean 2-hit KO on Metagross with Earth Power, right? The cats are currently wrestling. Kitty cats. Take that outside. Anyways, Earth Power. Yeah, clean hit 2 KO. You even have the option to sleep. Basket Legion is like a massive issue for this thing. Even Archaladon. Oh my god, I didn't even mention how difficult Archaladon is for Metagross. You can see the Electro Shot is going to be a clean 2-hit KO due to the special attack boost and the fact that Metagross just can't touch it, right? Like, let's take a look at all the things that Metagross can do to this team. Doesn't hate Pelipper. Weather Ball is a clean 2-hit KO, while Pelipper is going to be able to tank whatever Metagross wants to go for. Grimmsnarl obviously doesn't like, you know, having to deal with Iron Head, but it can eat a hit with Reflect. Charizard just annihilates this thing. Archaladon walls it. Basket Legion walls it. Venusaur threatens the KO. The team that got second. Yes, Metagross does like facing off against Toxapex and to an extent Annihilate, but Annihilate can also be pretty terrifying. If it gets a Defiant boost, Phantom Force is probably not a 1-hit KO, but close. I'm actually really curious about that one. Because Annihilate's basically always jolly. +1, Phantom Force. Yeah, it's a roll. But yeah, King Gambit's an issue, Garchomp's an issue, Charizard's an issue. You could say it's just the Charizard, but like, here's the thing: Charizard was almost as common in like VGC 2018. It wasn't as common, but it was pretty close. And I think that like just saying, oh, it's because of Charizard is kind of like not giving the conversation like the attention it's needed. It's a lot of things. It's like every team is kind of constructed in such a way where Steel Psychic just isn't really cutting it. Which is interesting because we thought that Metagross was going to be a game-changing Pokemon in this meta. We thought that Metagross was going to be a Pokemon that would like deal with Florges and deal with like Sylveon in a way that's like super, super valuable to teams. But it really just isn't. And I think it's because like the Charizard Fairy type dual teams are so optimized in this metagame that it just kind of, it's difficult to even get Metagross into a position where it matters. And like the better way of dealing with the fairies at that point is like a Basket Legion, you know, like you can make the argument that Basket Legion's a better check to those teams than Metagross is, because Basket Legion, you know, does it worry about Solar Beam? Yeah, but like it runs a pretty bulky set, and like a freaking boost to you lose one Pokemon and suddenly like the Last Respects is going to be like one-shotting a lot of Pokemon on that team, and you don't really fear Charizard as much as like a Metagross would. Like that's interesting. I don't know, not even just Basket Legion, like I was giving just like a broad example, but yeah, it's so hostile to Metagross. It's kind of, I just wanted to like talk about that really quick, just kind of go over this. Why is this metagame so terrible for Mega Metagross specifically? It's still doing fine, right? That's because Mega Metagross is a Pokemon that has those stats to back it up. It's got freaking 145 attack, Tough Claws, 110 speed, great defenses, you know? It can still bring value to a team, but it's not like a Pokemon that just finds value on every team anymore. It's like a Pokemon that has to really work for it. And I think it's because of these nerfs that have been happening over the generations. Slowly but surely, they've been chipping away at this thing's viability under our noses. But yeah, I just wanted to yap about that for a little bit. Not a super structured video, but I just wanted to talk about it a little bit. It is kind of insane just how much worse this Pokemon got. But if you guys enjoyed, leave a like, subscribe. If you have anything you guys want me to talk about, like if there's a Pokemon that you're interested in as to why it's overperforming or underperforming, just comment it down below. I don't really mind just doing these yap videos because I figured I would integrate these into my live streams whenever someone asks a question and then just turn them into topic videos. But yeah, I will see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.